Hello, my little love. Did you have a good day today? I hope something made you smile. Now take a slow breath, relax your shoulders, and let your mind get soft and quiet. It's time for a gentle bedtime story. Long ago, when the world was still young and learning its rhythms, there lived 4 brothers who were not quite like anyone else. They were the wind spirits, called the Anemoi, and each one had a special gift. Their father was the gentle dawn sky, and their mother was the soft earth. And together these parents had given their sons the important job of carrying the winds across the world. The oldest brother was called Boreas, and he was the keeper of the north wind. He had silver hair that sparkled like fresh snow, and his breath was cool and crisp. Boreas was strong and steady, and he loved the quiet beauty of winter. When he blew gently across the land, he would bring soft snowflakes that fell like tiny feathers, covering everything in a peaceful white blanket. The second brother was Notice, who watched over the south wind. His hair was warm brown like summer earth, and his touch felt like sunshine on your skin. Notice loved the late summer and early autumn, and when he whispered across the fields, he would bring warm rain that helped the last fruits ripen on the trees and made the world smell fresh and clean. The third brother was Zephyrus, the keeper of the west wind. He had golden hair that seemed to glow in the setting sun, and his voice was as soft as a lullaby. Zephyrus loved the spring more than anything, and when he danced through the valleys, he would bring gentle breezes that made flower petals drift through the air like confetti at a celebration. The youngest brother was Eurus, who cared for the east wind. His hair was dark like the sky before sunrise, and his eyes sparkled with curiosity. Eurus loved the early morning, and when he moved across the land, he would bring the fresh, cool air that helped the sun rise and wake the world with gentle kindness. The 4 brothers lived together in a beautiful palace made of clouds that floated high above the earth. The palace had 4 towers, one pointing in each direction, and each brother had his own tower where he could watch over his part of the world. The walls of the palace were soft and white, and they glowed with a peaceful light that changed colors with the time of day: pink at dawn, gold at noon, orange at sunset, and silver at night. Every morning, the 4 brothers would meet in the center of their cloud palace, in a round room with windows that looked out in all directions. They would sit together and talk about their work, sharing stories about what they had seen as they traveled across the world. "I saw a mother bird teaching her babies to fly this morning," Eurus would say, his eyes bright with joy. "I blew very gently beneath their wings to help them feel brave. I helped a field of sunflowers turn their faces toward the warmth," Notice would add with a smile. "They looked so happy, all golden and glowing. I carried apple blossom petals to a bee who was looking for flowers," Zephyrus would share. The bee followed the petals right to a whole orchard and danced with happiness. "I brought cool air to a deer who was resting in the forest," Boreas would say quietly. "She looked so peaceful, breathing in the fresh, clean cold." The brothers loved each other very much, and they worked together to keep the winds balanced and gentle. But they each had their own special way of doing things, and sometimes they didn't quite understand each other. One day, as spring was just beginning to arrive, Zephyrus was especially excited. Spring was his favorite time, and he wanted to bring the gentlest, most beautiful breezes to wake up all the sleeping flowers and trees. He spent his morning blowing soft, warm air across meadows, melting the last bits of snow, and whispering to the flower bulbs underground that it was time to grow. But Boreas, watching from his northern tower, felt worried. "Spring is coming too fast," he said to Zephyrus when they met that afternoon. "The trees aren't ready yet. They need more time to rest. Your warm breezes might confuse them." Zephyrus felt a little hurt. He thought he was doing something beautiful, and now his brother was saying he should stop. "But the world has been sleeping all winter," he said, his voice gentle but firm. "It's time for things to wake up and grow. Listen to how happy the birds are singing." It was true that the birds were singing more loudly than they had in months, chirping and trilling with joy at the warmer air. Boreas shook his head, his silver hair shimmering. "Sometimes good things need to happen slowly," he said. "If spring comes too quickly, the baby animals won't have enough food yet. The plants need to wake up gradually, not all at once." The two brothers disagreed, each thinking they knew the best way to help the world. And because neither wanted to upset the other, they both stayed quiet for a while, working separately instead of together. Zephyrus kept bringing his warm spring breezes, maybe even a little warmer than before, trying to prove that spring was ready. Boreas kept bringing cool northern air, maybe a little cooler than necessary, trying to slow things down. And because they weren't working together anymore, the weather became confused. One day it would be warm and sunny, and the flowers would start to open their petals. The next day it would be cold and frosty, and the flowers would close up again, shivering. The trees would begin to bud, then stop, then start again. The birds didn't know whether to build nests or wait. The rabbits didn't know whether to shed their thick winter coats or keep them on. Notice and Eurus watched this happening and felt sad. They missed the harmony that usually existed between all four brothers. They missed the gentle cooperation that made the weather flow smoothly from season to season. One evening, as the sun was setting and painting the sky in shades of lavender and rose, Eurus went to find Zephyrus in his western tower. He found his brother sitting by the window, looking down at the confused world below with troubled eyes. "Brother," Eurus said softly, sitting down beside him, "I know you want to bring the beauty of spring to the world. And you're right that it's time for things to grow and bloom. But I think Boreas is worried for a good reason too." Zephyrus sighed, and his breath made a gentle breeze that ruffled Eurus's dark hair. "I know," he admitted. "I can see the flowers opening and closing, opening and closing. They look tired, but I don't know how to talk to Boreas about it. He seems so sure that he's right." At the same moment, in the northern tower, Notus was having a similar conversation with Boreas. "Brother," Notus said, his voice warm and kind, "I understand that you want to protect the world and make sure everything happens at the right pace. And you're right that sometimes slow and steady is best. But I think Zephyrus is trying to do something beautiful too." Boreas looked out his window at the world below, at the confused trees and uncertain animals. "I know," he said quietly. "I can see that my cooling winds are making things harder, not easier. But I don't know how to say I'm sorry. Zephyrus seems so sure that he's right." Notus smiled wisely. "Why don't we all meet together?" he suggested to Boreas. And at the same time, Eurus was making the same suggestion to Zephyrus. So the four brothers gathered in the center room of their cloud palace, where they could all see each other clearly. At first, nobody spoke. They just sat together in the soft evening light, listening to the gentle sound of their own breathing. Finally, Zephyrus spoke first. "Boreas," he said, his voice gentle, "I'm sorry I didn't listen to your concerns. I was so excited about bringing spring that I forgot to think about whether the world was truly ready. I should have asked you what you thought instead of just assuming I was right." Boreas felt something warm spread through his chest, like sunshine on a cold day. "And I'm sorry too, Zephyrus," he said. "I was so worried about things happening too fast that I tried to stop spring from coming at all. That wasn't fair. Spring is beautiful and necessary, and you know best how to bring it." The two brothers smiled at each other, and in that smile, all the hurt feelings melted away like snow in warm sunlight. "We need each other," Eurus said wisely, even though he was the youngest. "We all have different gifts, and when we work together, we create something more beautiful than any of us could make alone." "You're absolutely right," Notice agreed. "The world needs all four winds, not just one. It needs the cool north wind and the warm south wind, the fresh east wind and the gentle west wind. Together, we make the weather dance in perfect harmony." From that evening on, the four brothers made a promise to each other. They promised to always talk openly about their ideas, to listen when others had concerns, and to work together instead of separately. They realized that the best solutions came when they combined their different gifts and perspectives. And so they created something magical. They decided to make the seasons flow into each other like a beautiful song, with each brother taking turns to lead while the others supported him. In winter, Boreas would lead, bringing his cool, crisp winds. But Zephyrus would add occasional warm breezes to remind everyone that spring was coming. In spring, Zephyrus would take the lead, bringing gentle warmth and flower-scented air. But Boreas would add cool nights to keep things from growing too quickly. In summer, Notice would bring his warmth and occasional rain, but Eurus would add fresh morning breezes to make each day feel new. And in autumn, all four would work together, helping the world prepare gently for winter's rest. But the brothers wanted to do something even more special. They wanted to create a gift for the world, something that would help everyone understand how beautiful cooperation could be. So they began to sing. Each brother had his own voice, his own special song. Boreas sang in low, steady notes that sounded like wind through pine trees. Notice sang in warm, rich tones that sounded like rain falling on summer leaves. Zephyrus sang in light, dancing melodies that sounded like birds at dawn. Eurus sang in clear, bright notes that sounded like chimes in the morning air. When they sang together, their four voices wove into one beautiful song, a harmony so perfect that it made everything who heard it stop and listen. The brothers sang their wind song across the world, and everywhere it went, magical things happened. Trees would sway in time with the melody, their leaves rustling in rhythm. Flowers would bob their heads as if nodding along. Rivers would ripple in patterns that matched the song's tempo. Even the clouds would arrange themselves into beautiful shapes, dancing across the sky. People who heard the wind song would stop their work and smile. They would feel peace settle over them like a soft blanket. Children would run outside and spin in circles with their arms out, feeling the different winds swirl around them. Old people would sit in their doorways and remember happy times, their hearts filled with contentment. Animals loved the wind song too. Birds would add their own voices to it, creating even more complex harmonies. Wolves would howl along in the evening. Crickets would chirp in rhythm. Whales in the deep ocean would sing their own parts, their voices vibrating through the water in time with the winds above. The four brothers discovered that when they sang together, they could do things none of them could do alone. They could create gentle spirals of air that would lift seeds from one place and carry them to another, helping plants spread to new homes. They could make soft whirlwinds of flower petals that would dance through villages, bringing joy and beauty to everyone who saw them. They could carry the scent of blooming jasmine from southern gardens to northern forests, or the smell of pine from mountaintops to seaside towns, sharing the world's beauty with everyone. But the most magical thing they created was the sound of perfect cooperation. Their song taught everyone who heard it that different voices could blend together to make something more beautiful than any single voice alone. It taught that sometimes the gentle cool wind and the warm spring breeze both had wisdom to share. It taught that listening was just as important as speaking, and that working together was better than working apart. Seasons began to flow smoothly again, each one arriving at exactly the right time, neither too fast nor too slow. Winter would come gently, giving the world time to prepare for sleep. Spring would arrive gradually, waking everything slowly and carefully. Summer would warm the land without scorching it. Autumn would cool things down while painting the leaves in beautiful colors. And through it all, the four wind brothers sang their song, sometimes loud and joyful, sometimes soft and soothing, but always together, always in harmony. On quiet nights, when you lie very still and listen carefully, you can sometimes hear their song even now. It's in the gentle breeze that comes through your window, carrying the smell of flowers or rain or snow. It's in the way the wind chimes on someone's porch, ring out in perfect notes. It's in the rustle of leaves and the whisper of grass and the soft whoosh of air that makes you feel safe and peaceful. The four brothers never forgot the lesson they learned, that being different doesn't mean being wrong, that disagreements can be solved with kindness and listening, and that the most beautiful things in the world are created when we work together, combining our different gifts into something magical. And so they continue their work, the four wind spirits, each one special and important, each one needed. They blow across the world in their turns and together, making the weather change and flow, carrying seeds and scents and songs, reminding everyone that we all have different gifts to share, and that when we share them with love and cooperation, we create a world more beautiful than any of us could imagine alone. You did well today, my little love. Now let your eyes grow heavy, and let the night wrap around you like a soft blanket. Sleep well, sweet dreams, and rest deeply.